Welcome to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I've got a special guest with me on the episode. So welcome, Glen. Hey, Glen.
Hey, Johnny. Good to speak to you today.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation around health and energy today and all the knowledge that you've got for us. So really looking forward. I'm always interested in health, but hearing from someone who's got an expertise and huge amount of knowledge, as we know, as I've known from talking to you in the Tony Robbins events, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So thank you for coming on today. Appreciate it.
It's really my pleasure.
Awesome. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction to Glen, and then he can say a little bit more about himself. So over the last decade, Glen has immersed himself in worlds of health and high performance coaching, human optimism, lab testing, behavioral psychology, meditation, yoga, and biohacking. He has now combined the best of what he has uncovered in these fields to create a simple, easy to implement and proven system called the Response Blueprint. So looking forward to hear about this blueprint. So Glen, first question really I've got for you today is, what got you into this whole area that you're in now around the health and the high performance coaching?
Yeah, so I guess for me, a lot of people go through a personal health journey and for me, that never really happened. I've been quite blessed. I've been quite blessed with good health, but I think what had an even bigger impact for me was my father wasn't so lucky. My father, he suffered from a lot of autoimmune diseases. He was seriously overweight to the point where his whole health was affected, his ability to perform, his ability, in truth, to provide for his family, which was myself and my mother, was impacted seriously. And that kind of really led me down a path of thinking from a very, very young age that I didn't ever want to go through that. And I knew there must be a better way. I watched him go to the doctors. I watched him be given drug after drug after drug, drugs that actually eventually were the main cause of him passing away because he suffered from internal bleeding caused by the drugs that he was prescribed. So yeah, that's led to more than a decade now of really looking into the world of health, human optimization, and how to get people, which is now what I'm blessed to do, is to help other people really perform at the highest level, to get the confidence, the vitality, the balance to their lives, so they can provide all they want for the people they love without really sacrificing themselves in the process, which is what I see so many people do.
Yeah, very true. And obviously you shared yours was kind of, it stemmed from, it sounds, someone close to you actually being impacted by challenges in health. And yeah, looking over the world, unfortunately, is a bit of a challenge, isn't it, with health these days, in terms of what we've got and these temptations, and kind of not necessarily getting the right solution all the time. So it's great we've got people like you in the world actually looking for different methods and different approaches. So was it a case that you, when you're sort of picking up this, you went to a range of different teachers and coaches?
So my study, I guess, first went into functional medicine. And my predominant teacher that I learned from, which is an American gentleman called Dr. Stephen Cabral, he was the one that really, I guess, focused my attention onto how to get people healthy and well, how to heal at a root cause, so that there's nothing that I ever speak about. I see clients often come to me and they will say, you know what, I've got this label, that label, this label. And for me, they are just labels that have been given to these people. And the problem is they almost become those labels. Whereas what I'm trying to do is I'm actually trying to find the root cause. So what's actually causing these labels? And then let's heal those root causes, which often manifest themselves in low confidence, low vitality, low self-worth issues that people end up, my clients often come to me and they'll say, I feel low. I've got low self-esteem, I've got no drive, I can't do what I want to do. And that's not me. It's not how I remember myself. It's not who I believe I am. And the truth is, it's not who they are. It's often caused by underlying imbalances that could be reduced from gut health. It could be neural problems. It could be toxins from external sources. There are so many factors that can actually end up affecting you to make you think, hang on a minute, this isn't me, but I'm feeling all of these things. And that's what I try and help people with and get them better.
Yeah, so understanding the underlying cause in that respect.
Most definitely, yeah. There's always an underlying cause.
Yeah, rather than necessarily the symptoms, because, like, for example, if you're getting headaches, you could have, I guess, a paracetamol, but that's not treating if it's a reoccurring, obviously, that's not treating the underlying cause. So I guess that's kind of the kind of things you would look at. What is it in terms of what could be causing that to happen on a consistent basis? So in terms of the work you do, is it a mixture of both looking at the physical and mental side of things for people?
I work on, so what I formulated, which is called the response blueprint, is a comprehensive system of looking at the holistic health. So that is everything. Modern medicine seems to identify things, and it's great for the brain, compartmentalizing things. So, you have a problem with the head, you go to the head specialist. You have a problem with your arm, you go to the arm specialist, where all of these things often affect each other. Like, the body is so adjoined, and things that can happen, a pain in the wrist can be caused by a pain in the hip. And so the response blueprint was my way of formulating a system of being able to take people through to get them well on all levels. So it's not just the health, it's not just physical, it's not just mental, it's the complete holistic approach. So when they actually work their way through the blueprint, they come to the end and they just go, wow, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I've got everything here I need.
Okay, so it's like, the whole holistic approach in terms of things. So, and the response, it's called the response blueprint, isn't it?
It is.
You call it. Yeah.
It is.
So what do the letters stand for?
Johnny, I'm so glad you asked. So the response blueprint, it starts with R, which is rejuvenation. The fundamental principle really that I see most people do is they just don't rest enough. They just don't get the quality sleep. But it's not just about sleep, it's about rest. It's about getting into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is that part of our nervous system that allows us just to settle down, to be calm. For those people that meditate, there's often that place where everything just seems to disappear into the background. And that's because you've dropped into the PNS, the parasympathetic nervous system. The E is for exercise, which we all need, especially for confidence. Exercise is something that we can do, that we can just get into, that can get the endorphins going, get us running. And there's very few people that I meet that when they haven't done a good workout, they just don't feel amazing.
Even in the worst time, even in stressful situations, it might not. Like, for me personally, when we've probably both been there, and everyone sort of like listening, been there, when you're in a really bad spot, it's not a case you necessarily, I feel awful, I'm really going through a stressful time. It's not a case of suddenly like, I feel amazing, I love life. But it is like, it does pick up that mood. So
it does. It totally does.
Yeah.
And the third one, which is the S, which is supplements. I'm a massive fan of supplements. From my practice and from working with people, as much as I love whole food diets and real food, I've found that I can get much better results with constant supplementation for myself and my clients. I mean, I'm a living testing proof. I test everything on myself. So that's the supplements. That's and then, yeah. And the P is philosophy of life, which I know something that you're really passionate about, and that is we really dig deep into values, beliefs, rules that we have that govern our lives, that often we don't even know them, and they govern our decisions we make, how we act, where we go through. So changing that philosophy of life, changing the way that you approach your life and the rules and the values you live by, that's just a game changer for true health, true wellness, and true high performance. The O is overwhelm, anxiety, and stress, which, again, I've found just through my work now that everyone suffers from stress to some degree. And I think, most people don't like admitting it, although it is becoming more acceptable now to be able to say, you know what, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed. But there's still a lot of high achievers. I work with a lot of high achievers, high performers, people that are in corporate roles, lawyers, solicitors, accountants, people that are used to performing at a level, and they don't want to be seen in the workplace to be saying, oh, geez, I'm just stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I can't deal with this. So this is a big part of the program, is to actually give people the tools to deal with stress and anxiety and overwhelm, because those three things are slightly different and they do need slightly different tactics.
Yeah, I'm glad you've separated those ones, stress and overwhelm, and anxiety. And I think those are quite, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they're quite very common in this day and age, especially when we're bombarded with information.
Yes.
One of Tony's quotes, not what I've used for ages actually, but we're bombarded with information, but wisdom sometimes is lacking. So
yeah, I love that. Yeah. And it's so true. It's so true. Yeah, definitely in this day and age, we've got access to everything on a phone that we could ever possibly want, but just sometimes simple clarity is missing. And I think that's what the response blueprint actually gives as well. It gives clarity. It gives an easy process for people to follow, because just in a system like this, and often you see a lot of things, and just the system themselves are really overwhelming for people. And we want it to be simple and easy to follow.
Yeah, love that. And I think some of the best things out there have got a real good degree of simplicity. So like I was playing around with ClickFunnels funnily the other day, and I was loving it because it's so simple and you wouldn't think it. So
yeah, drag and drop systems, you got to love them.
Love it, gotta love it. Well, I'm a bit of a geek in that way, but awesome, love it. Cool. So overwhelm is that one you look at. So we're on to the N.
We are on to the N, which is the good old favorite of nutrition. And really and truly, I mean, nutrition is where I start with most of my clients. It's what are you putting in your body? How are you feeding yourself? How are you feeding your body, your mind, and your soul? What is coming in? And quite often what we'll find is there's quite a lot of work to do in this area, even for people that think they're eating healthily. There's tweaks that can be made, because there are different body types. According to Ayurveda, there's Vata, Pitta, and Kapha body types, which are different types of the body. We're all built in different ways, but they fall into these three main types. And different food really represents what these different types should be eating. So we look through all of that, and then we also, we go through whether you're eating clean, whether you're eating organic, pasture raised, grass fed, what are you eating at what point in the day you're eating those things. Keto, for instance, has become so popular in the last couple of years, but not necessarily the best diet for certain body types and certain people, especially if those people are already stressed.
Oh, it's fascinating. This is just such a range to look at, and I think that's the importance of getting something personalized for you, isn't it? That you probably discover.
Yeah, totally. I think there is no one size fits all. No. It'd be much easier for all of us if it was.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I always thought food in two main ways, and obviously I haven't gone into detail in it, but I always think of it in terms of deficiencies and sensitivities when I'm looking at food. Like especially following a vegan diet, it's making sure
Yes.
you're going back to your earlier on the S, talking about supplements, making sure I'm having those vitamin D's
Yeah.
pills, especially when you're in England and it's not
Yes.
sunny that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Getting in those vitamin D pills and certain degree B12 when it's not
Yeah.
even necessary.
B12s, definitely.
Yeah, and omega 3s and things like that. So kind of like making sure you're not deficient, but then sensitivities as well. And that was something I was interested in. How would you suggest people look out for sensitivities, foods that might be trigger them to maybe lose energy or perhaps change their mood?
Yeah. So there's two ways. One of the fundamental principles of how I work is I actually offer human optimization lab testing.
Mm,
So rather than the dartboard approach,
yeah.
which is where we do lifestyle intakes, which they do work, and I can explain a little bit about that in the moment. I actually offer a food sensitivity test, which is really simple to take at home, and it will give a complete rundown of all the major food types and your different sensitivities to them. For me, that just makes sense. The human optimization lab tests I run, complete gut panels, mitochondrial energy panels, vitamin panels, mineral panels, hormone panels. You can you can literally build. I mean, it's quite amazing when you see these tests come through, and you can look at it. And when you're analyzing a lab test, it's almost like you're seeing the person,
Mm,
but from below the skin, you can actually see what's going on. You can see the deficiencies, you can see the excesses, toxin levels, vitamin levels, mineral levels. So that's, for me, that's the game changer. And that's what makes things just so easier and quicker, quite frankly, to get to the desired result is to run testing. But not everybody wants to do testing. And for food sensitivities in particular, what I always suggest is keep a food journal. It's that simple.
mm,
Have your meal, make sure you know what's in that meal ingredient wise, and then just list down how you feel. And then what you can do after that is if you notice any changes, you can do what's called an elimination diet. So you will take major food sensitivities out of your diet for 21 days. Eggs is a big one.
mm.
A lot of people don't realize it, but a lot of people are actually have a sensitivity to eggs. So you can work through those different ones, then you slowly introduce them. So let's say we're taking eggs as an example. After 21 days, you introduce an egg back into your diet and you see how that affects you. When that comes back in, do you feel more lethargic? Is your confidence a little lower? Do you not feel quite as vibrant as you did? Then you probably know you're having a reaction to that. And that takes a little bit of work to do that journal and to do that elimination diet. Truthfully, it's much easier to test, but that is a way to do it without having to test.
Yeah, no, that's a good way. And obviously you got the option of testing as well, which is good. But you said it's a little bit harder and you've got to do a bit of work, but and this is just be my view on it. It's going to be harder work on your life if you're constantly taking in foods that don't serve you and are affecting your
Oh,
energy. So it may seem like a bit of effort, but life's really got to be a bit more effort going
yeah.
forward if you're not taking in the right things and taking in things that affect you.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. I know, and this is from personal experience. I have a few food sensitivities,
Mm.
and one of those is eggs for me. And I spent years having eggs for breakfast. In fact, a lot of the time, when I was getting back, when I was back in a job working for other people, and I was getting back late at night after long hours in the office, an omelette was my go-to quick meal. And I've since found out that eggs actually affect me really badly. They really make me lethargic. They tire me out. So there I was thinking I was feeding my body with good things, but actually it was just tiring me out and leading me further down. So yeah, it's really important to tackle those things now.
Mm. Oh yeah, remember a good omelette in my pre-vegan days. Oh, that's a great observation. I'm glad you found that out as well. So yeah, fascinating, that kind of thing. So yeah, the nutrition area is just something I'm really always fascinated by, and And like you pointed out, like it can impact people's confidence. So sometimes we're wondering like, oh, we're buzzing to the day or whatever, and we're feeling really good. And then suddenly there's maybe a drop in mood later.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as what you eat. I found personally from trying fasting diets, I was on top of the world some mornings, and then it just suddenly there was a crash in the afternoon. We're all different, but yeah, that self-awareness of your own diet and food journaling is key. But obviously there's options like the testing you offer. So
Yeah.
yeah, love to learn about nutrition.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's self-awareness. It's, if you can just think during the day, hang on a minute, I'm not feeling great, and not beat yourself up because you're not feeling great, because there's a very, very good chance it's not your fault. It's got nothing to do with you as a person, as a human being. It literally is something that you've put into your body that is potentially affecting you.
Yeah, that's very true. But it's our, once we realize that, we can take responsibility to deal with it. So that's brilliant. So the last couple, we're on the S now, I believe.
So this was this actually was a different one for a little while. And then I changed it, and I changed it to success habits. And the reason for that, the reason I included this, was what I was finding with my clients. I can give them all the information that I possibly can, but if they haven't got the built-in habits in their life, if they don't have the routines, the habits built in, the rituals to actually keep to the changes and make the positive changes that last long after, they may have finished with me. So it becomes a lifestyle, not just a 3-month, okay, I feel great, and then a slow deterioration back. So what I've made sure now is I build in a framework where we work on people's habits, we work on their rituals, we work on how we can make things easy for them to continue this and make it a lifestyle.
Love that. I'm all about that's everything I sort of like coach and teach. Very, very keen on the habits. So what advice would you give to someone who's perhaps wanting to, let's use the example of exercise. I was going to say health habits, but that's probably a bit general. But say they want to do a bit more exercise, and they're not really used to exercise, and they walk perhaps, or if they're blessed enough to walk, but that's perhaps the only exercise they do. What kind of would you say about them starting more exercise as a habit that they need to be aware of or think about?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about habit building when it comes to exercise, there's definitely the start from where you are. For me, I'll use myself as an example. I used to practice a lot of yoga, a 6-day-a-week practice every day. And I picked up an injury, which has stopped me being able to practice advanced yoga, let's say, so advanced asana yoga. So, I don't want to sit back on my laurels, so I have to change my habits. And I also can't go straight into doing CrossFit. So it start from where you are. And I thought, okay, how can I make this really easy for me? So I bought myself a kettlebell. In fact, I could actually reach down. So I'm in my consulting space here. And the kettlebell literally sits on the floor in my room. And every time I walk to go to my desk, I literally have to step over this kettlebell. So instead of stepping over it, I will pick it up and I might do a deadlift, I might do a snatch, I might do a curl, I might just do a squat. And then I put it down and I go to my desk. So it's just making things really, really easy from an exercise point of view. We don't have to go from 0 to 100. We can change it and we can just build up. And for me personally, I'm up and down from my desk probably 50 times a day. So if I'm doing something every time I leave my desk, but I'm not doing too much, because obviously we don't want to go into doing, let's say, from cold to doing 50 kettlebell swings, because we're going to get injured. But if I'm and it's a good weight for me, it's not excessively heavy, I can really get some good exercise in during the day. It's an easy habit to keep. And it's also not taking a huge amount of time, because the biggest argument I always get when it comes to exercise is it takes too much time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. It's funny. I was actually on a coaching call with one of my clients earlier, and he was saying he's put like a 20-30 minute routine in place as opposed to having to travel to the gym. He's got his it all set up in his room, and it's an easy habit for him to maintain.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to do that every single day. He doesn't do it every day. He does it, quite a few days, but it's just an easy habit to maintain. And one thing that kind of springs to mind right now is kind of as we're approaching it is the New Year's, the new year, the new me sort of time, when we're all, wanting to start to get fit after the Christmas holiday of too much eating. I know that's obviously not going to be the case for yourself, in terms of going overboard with, eating too much, and we want to start exercising and things. But you often see, and I don't know if this is your experience as well, Glenn, but when we want to start a new habit, we sometimes push too hard at the start. And it's sometimes like that we're going to do like 2 hours at the gym every day. And that's just not maintainable. I don't know if you've experienced that with people you've worked with.
When I work with people, I mean, especially, again, the people that I work with, they are achievers. There is quite a lot of the time where I'm having to like pull them back for certain things, because they want to go. They want to go like straight at it. It's also interesting what you just said about, this time of year of it being new year, new me.
Yeah.
I heard something a couple of days ago. Actually, my other half, Nicola, told me about it, and I thought it's actually a really great thing. And also, rather than new year, new me, how about new year, but accepting the me that I am, like the confidence that I already do have. And grow from that. So rather than trying to reinvent everything, grow from what you already are, who you already are.
Yeah.
Which I thought, which is a really great sentiment, I think, to take into the new year. We don't have to change everything. We are perfect as we are, but we can evolve and get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. It goes back to your point about starting where you are, as well. And, build. And I'm always very keen to, people have big visions. We all have a big vision, aim high. But I think I heard it from Mel Robbins. It was like, have these massive, big goal visions. And, the work from Tony, the Joseph McClendons, and all these people we follow, they're all about, set these massive visions. Where do you want to be? But, setting the bar realistic at first, so you can build that momentum is key. And I think that's what you're saying as well from that phrase.
Yeah. So, I mean, Tony says, doesn't he, all the time? He says, never leave the site of a decision without taking action. And he does say massive action, but he doesn't say, try and go from 0 to 1 million. Like, take the first step, the first action that you need to take to get you on that journey to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Don't try and
book that call, or message that person, or sign up for the gym membership. That could be the first action. Yeah, I love that. Awesome. So success habits, really, really like that. Another one, before we get on to the final letter, that I want to sort of like touch on was meditation, because I know you've got that, and you've looked at that in the past. And we were talking before this call about kind of a couple of apps we try out, and I know we've probably between us probably loads and loads of different apps. I currently use something called Sync Tuition. I'm not an affiliate for them. I think I just mentioned but that's something that's helped me. And I know you use some of Sam Harris's stuff, so that's cool. So what advice would you give to someone because people are often quite keen to start meditation? I know we just talked about exercise. What advice would you give to someone who wants to do meditation, but they find it a real challenge?
Well, the first bit of advice I've got is I actually do a meditation live on Instagram on a Monday morning at 6:30. So, feel free to find me on Instagram, Thrive Through Life, and you can join me on a Monday morning for a meditation that is all based around getting you into the day in a productive way. I think too many of us separate meditation from real life. So this meditation is for you to take what you find in the meditation practice into your real life. So that's the first thing. The other thing about meditation, I think as well, like there are some great apps out there. The Sam Harris app, Waking Up's really good. The Synctuition app's really good. Headspace, obviously most people know about Headspace. They're all great. But what I would also just say about meditation is just try and be present in the day. If you're feeling a lack of confidence, if you're feeling a lack of energy, if you're feeling a little bit down, and this is easier said than done, and I'm aware of this, but try and just step back from it for a second and just pause and just assess what's going on. We don't need to go and run off to a cave, jump inside, pull a blanket over our heads and spend the next 5 years meditating. It can simply be 30 seconds of just like, oh, that's interesting. I am feeling, insert the blank. And then an awareness of, okay, well, that is a feeling, that is an emotion. Am I that? Am I that emotion? You know, am I low? Am I tired? Am I depressed? Am I feeling a lack of confidence? Am I those things? The answer to that is always no. You are not that thing. That is not you. That is just something external coming into your experience. And if you can notice that separation, just for even an instant, you can usually move through it very quickly in a day. So it doesn't just need to be a practice of, 10 minutes in the morning or 20 minutes in the morning or 5 years in a cave.
Yeah, just kind of building it in, it's being aware and just observing the thoughts. I think it is. It's observing the thoughts. Power of Now. Great book.
Yeah, amazing book.
Yeah, love it. Got to read it again some point. But the queue's stacking up at the moment. No, thanks for that, Glenn. I think that's really important as well. Like, use an app if that's good for you. But just being aware is going to really help. And so that's really good advice. So now we're on to the final letter, which is the E.
We are, which is environment.
Environment.
An environment is basically, there's lots of external influences on us. There's the water supply we drink, there's the cosmetics we use, the shampoos, the hairsprays, the deodorants. There are skin creams we put on our body. There are the EMFs that constantly surround us now. So there's lots of external environmental factors that really do impact our health. And, it goes without saying they've been proven now to impact our health. So this part of the program is really just focusing on, okay, what do you use and how could we maybe modify those things so they're not affecting you, they're not disrupting your hormones, which is quite a big thing for a lot of these environmental factors, which when we have problems with our hormones, that can seriously affect our confidence, our zest for life.
And I was fortunate last time we were able to meet up to get some recommendations from yourself and Nicola about some products we've been using. And I've certainly been putting some more like it's Green People, isn't it?
Green People,
Green tea at the time. Or Green Men, I think it was. Green People, which is really, really good. And using things like Tropic I've introduced as well, which is quite a good product. So it's fascinating, just some of these like sprays and deodorants we don't realize are affecting us and putting them on the skin and what they could do to us physically and mentally as well.
Completely. I mean, it really does affect, like you said, physically, mentally, neurologically. It really impacts us. And again, what it comes back to, and I think that's one of the underlying messages as well, is that all of these things, they're affecting us. So when we often blame ourselves, it's not our fault. We are being impacted by these things, but there reaches a point if we do have awareness of these things and we don't change them, well, then we have to accept responsibility for where we are.
Yeah, very true. Okay. So then that's a great blueprint. Really enjoyed going through that. I was fascinated to see what all the letters stand for each. So it's response again, just to remind people.
It's the response blueprint. And the thought behind that really is, which comes from Stoicism, and it's the way we respond to life is really going to affect the results we get in life. So we want to respond to life in the best way possible. And the way that we do that is by putting we optimize and we energize our most valuable asset, which is ourselves. And then our response and therefore our results are going to head in the direction we really want them to.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So kind of just wrapping up things here, and it's been a wonderful, amazing set of amount of information you've given us today. So thank you, Glen. So one kind of thing I'm very passionate about is people investing in themselves. Now, I understand, obviously, we're all in different circumstances with, what we can opt into and things like that. But what would you say to someone about the importance of them, as much as they're able to, in investing in their own health, whether it's coaches, whether it's supplements? What would you say about that?
I mean, health in general, I would literally say if you lose your health, you lose pretty much any ability to achieve anything else you want in your life. All of a sudden, everything else becomes a lot more difficult to obtain. And, we started this podcast off with me sharing about my father, and that's what I watched with him. I watched him no longer be able to perform to the high level that he wanted to because his health had deteriorated to a point where he just couldn't do it. He just couldn't provide for his family. He couldn't do his work. He couldn't live his life. He couldn't do the things he wanted to do. So, and that's an extreme example, but so many people suffer from this at different levels. And if you could just get some of my clients, some of my clients are amazingly high achieving, and it's really funny. They're operating, I would say, at like 85 to 90% capacity, which is fantastic. But these are the people that will invest in themselves to get an extra 2%, an extra 3%, an extra 4%, because they know how much that moves the needle. Investing in yourself, not just in health, but in all areas of life, is going to return far more rewards than, going out and buying a Rolex.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to have a positive knock on to other people as well. Like, you being able to be a better version of you and go that further and be able to provide more, and just, for your close family and friends around you. So I'm glad you mentioned about all other areas of life. And yeah, like I said, again, I appreciate we all got different kind of situations financially, but it's sometimes ask yourself that that challenging question, whether it's a story I'm telling myself, or if there is a way, I can invest in myself, even if it's small to start off with. Because like you say, energy, and we go back to health and energy, that's the source of everything you do. If you've not got health, not got energy, you can't go after your goals as much as you like to. You're not going to be able to make the connections or live as best a life as possible. So, and thanks for obviously telling us about your father, and in that case, so appreciate you being open and sharing about that one as well, and what inspired to get you into this area. So thanks for that, Glen. So as we kind of like close off, are there any kind of final points that you want to share?
I guess the main point I want to share literally is start from where you are, make small changes. All of this can seem quite overwhelming, ironically, when you've maybe listened to this podcast and you've listened to the response blueprint, and now you're like, oh my God, I've got so many changes to make in my rejuvenation, in my exercise. Oh, I need to think about supplementations, but I don't know what my values or beliefs are. And I am stressed and I eat crap, and, my habits are rubbish, and I'm worried about the deodorant I'm using. Oh my God, where do I start? And I think my first point here would be start small, pick one thing, look at one area that you think you could make the biggest gains in from the response blueprint, and just look at that. So for an example, if it was nutrition, I would say, okay, finish listening to this podcast. Let's go and open my fridge. Let's look at what's in my fridge. If the ratio to food to alcohol is incorrect, you will know immediately. And maybe that's the first thing I would look at addressing. But also, what's in my food real, or is it pre-packaged? Is the food healthy? And we all know what's healthy and what isn't. How am I starting my day? With what food am I eating? And just start there and just make 1 or 2 changes. Again, quite a lot of people will tell you to empty out your fridge, throw everything away. I would say don't do that, but just make a couple of positive shifts to start with. You'll feel better. You'll feel great. And that will encourage you to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, love it. Making progress by little steps rather than, because we're trying to get people away from overwhelm as much as possible. And I know that can be easy doing this day and age, like we were saying, of information. So love the way you're suggesting of implementing, and people can implement this. So appreciate that, Glen. So Glen, I think you mentioned you've got something to share with the listeners as well, a special resource that you're kindly willing to provide. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I do. I don't normally do this, I have to say, but Johnny, we're friends, and I thought, you know what, I'm actually going to do something for your listeners. I listen to your podcast. I think you put so much amazing value and content out there for your listeners. So I wanted to add to that. So I've designed a special guide, especially for listeners of the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast. So it's all about confidence and using the response blueprint to enhance the confidence, enhance your vitality, enhance your zest for life. You can grab that. It's completely free of charge. You can go to my website, www.thrivethroughlife.com/confidence. And it's all there. You can grab it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for throwing that in, Glen. And we'll put those in the notes as well. And we'll also put your Instagram you mentioned for the morning meditations that people can get involved with as well. So awesome. Very generous, and we really appreciate it. So Glen, thanks so much for your time and coming on today. It's been a great conversation.
Pleasure.
Awesome. So that concludes our episode for today. But remember, work on your self-confidence every single day.